Let me set the stage. It is August 5th, 1972. I'm almost 22 years old. This is a true story, by the way. I've come down to Los Angeles to be with my parents for a visit. I have some emotional challenges. I'm going to list the reasons why. The Beatles broke up in April of 1970. Nixon is in office and he's going to be re-elected later in this year. The war in Vietnam is still on. My father has an Oldsmobile. PSA, you know what PSA is. It's Pacific Southwest Airlines has raised their rate from flying from San Francisco to LA. Instead of $13, it's now $15 each way. Thank goodness the stewardesses are still wearing pink and orange mini dresses. Next thing that is a bother for me is that the House of Pies has opened a franchise in Beverly Hills. The thing that disturbs me, it closed in the 70s. Okay, that's not what we're here to talk about. This is a surprise party to end all surprise parties. My parents were married on August 3rd, 1947. I came down there to celebrate with them, and what better idea was there but to put on a 25th wedding anniversary surprise party? What could go wrong? So, in planning that, of course, you invite all of their good friends. You know that they're going to come to the house. They're going to get into the house while we're away for dinner. And when we come back to the house, we'll come through the front door and all the friends will be there and they'll yell surprise, and my parents will be very pleased. Everything was going really well. The invitations had been sent. My mother had made a reservation for dinner at 5:45 at her favorite restaurant in West Hollywood. Naturally, my mother was a little bit of a nervous person at some times, so she herded us into the car around 5:15. And we got to the restaurant around 5:30. There were the four of us, my sister, my father, my mother, and myself. They didn't get us in early, and the reason why is the restaurant had been informed that this was a surprise party dinner, and they had to take time, because we had to allow time for things to be set up at home. Now, what you don't know about my family is that the Mason family is actually in the Guinness Book of Records. We have set a land speed record for eating on many occasions. I'm proud of it, but in this case, needed to draw things out a little bit. So you're not going to believe this, but the service was slow. The service in the restaurant was actually pretty poor. And my mother was getting a little bit irritated about it. We were still making good time though, so I thought I could shut things down a little bit by excusing myself from the table and going to the restroom. Now, what you have to know about my family is John never goes to the restroom in restaurants. This could have been a dead giveaway. I made it to the telephone. I called my girlfriend who was inside my house. She had let herself in. She was decorating. She was there to greet people. Everything is going well. The bill comes. We pay the bill. We get back in the car. I'm driving the Oldsmobile. I want you to know something. At that point in my life, I would have been really pleased if the Beatles were still together and I was listening to their latest song. That's where I would have wanted to be. But we were going to be home a little early, so I needed to go on the tour. And I turned to my father and I said, Dad, have you been to the new House of Pies yet? And he looked at me, no. With that overwhelming response, of course I drove directly there. I pointed out the House of Pies that they didn't want to see. And I looked at my watch and it said, just about 6:45. Now the guests were supposed to be there at 6:45, so I was feeling pretty good. So I steered the Oldsmobile towards home. And we make a right turn on Doheny Boulevard. My heart goes up to my throat. my jaw gets very tight. Directly in front of us is a large brown Rolls Royce. It's Edith and Eric Flagg, and they're on the way to my party, and we're behind them. This is not good. My parents didn't see, because I think they'd had a few drinks and they were kind of oblivious. At any rate, I did the appropriate thing. I'm almost 22. I steered directly into the first alleyway. We now went on the special anniversary alley tour of Beverly Hills. My mother is going nuts because she doesn't know what's going on, but it's good because this is going to be a surprise. Eventually, we kind of steer in the back way into the driveway. Garage doors down. My father is regaling us with this ridiculous story that I don't even remember, but he was happy to be telling it. And out of the corner of my eye, I see Edith and Eric Flagg crossing the street and going up to my front door. I circled the wagons. I got their attention. We're back in the car. Listen to Dad. My mother is just, wait a minute. My mother is just beside herself. She gets out of the car. She goes over and she opens the garage door. My father's story is finished. We pull in, park the car, get out of the car, and we're walking along the sidewalk next to the house. It's a warm August evening. The windows to the living room are open. And my mother, in a very clear and distinct voice, says, "For 25 years, I've had to open this garage door." We made it to our front door. We got in the door. People said surprise. It was spectacular. They were really pleased. But the best part of that party for me was to hear all the stories about my mother having to open that garage door for 25 years. Thank you.